Right guys, welcome to the video. In this video we have tips, we have settings like graphic settings, and we have key bindings for PUBG. We're going to get straight into it, and the very first thing I'm going to talk about is how to save bandages. You'll probably find an average of about 10 bandages per game if you survive long enough and are lucky enough to even find any. When you use a bandage, you'll see it goes up in 4 different clicks to heal you. If you spam use bandages, you'll be wasting them because once you use the second bandage, it resets or cancels any health the first bandage is replenishing. Instead, wait until 2 clicks of your health go back up and then use the second bandage, and it'll kick in just right for when the first one finishes healing you. And bandages will come in very handy for mid to late game. Next up is running from anyone shooting you. If you sit still, then you're guaranteed to be searching for the next game and you'll be hunting for that first chicken dinner for a lot longer than you need to. Instead of running in a straight line when you're evading gunshots, strafe left and right a little bit and always mix it up, as it will make it 10 times harder for your enemy to hit you and could possibly save yourself from death, because just strafing and running will allow the enemy to read your movement patterns and eventually put a bullet through your face. Number 3 is to always make sure you're in the right seat of a vehicle before jumping out to drop someone that's been shooting you for the last 500 meter drive. Key bindings will help you with this one, which we'll discuss near the end of the video, but for an example of this, when you're driving and someone's taking shots, if they're on your left side and you leave the vehicle, you'll have absolutely no cover and they'll probably slim your chances of winning the shootout from 50% to about 5%, whereas if you're driving and they're on your left side, switch to the front or back passenger seat and then exit the vehicle. This way you'll have the cover of the car to possibly increase your chances of winning that shootout from about 50% to about 95%. Make sure you know the car has enough health before doing this, as the enemy could just spray the car and blow you up instead. Every car will make you exit from the seat you're sitting in, so it's best that you know where the gunshots are coming from before you leave the vehicle so that you can use your car as cover. Number 4 is something you'll learn the more you play, but any form of meds in the game, bandages, first aid and full-on med kits will only heal you to 75 health. Painkillers and energy drinks will kind of override this and slowly heal you back to full health. Next up is about the very start of the game. There's a maximum of 100 people in your lobby and you'll need to land first if people are jumping from the plane at the same time as you, as it will give you a very important early game edge. If you can grab an assault rifle or something or a shotgun, and they've got a pistol or a melee weapon at best if you're forced to search the same house. The quickest way to freefall is to look down to the floor, hold W, and you can reach speeds of around 234 kilometers an hour, and this will also give you a little speed boost when you open your parachute, so landing will be much quicker as opposed to someone literally just free falling. Your chute will automatically open at a certain height, so don't panic about splatting into the nearest building, but don't aim to land on the roof of a building as it will cut your chute and you'll take all the full damage. Plus don't collide as this does the same thing, unless you want to finish 98th every game. And also take your time picking spots and be patient with your jump, as this will have a major effect on where you finish that game. The little huts or shacks you see near houses and randomly placed at the sides of certain roads, always check them, as they sometimes have 4x scopes, high level helmets and other items and stuff in them, which can help you out quite a bit. Gunfights at certain ranges are completely pointless with any gun unless you've got a good scope. If you're playing duos or squads and you knock someone out, start running away from them and go hide somewhere out of their sight, but keep your eye on them, as they'll more than likely tell their team that you've gone and call for the revive, so you can grab a couple of kills instead of the one, and if you're lucky enough you could potentially bag yourself an entire squad wipe. Unless someone is revived by their teammate, they will eventually bleed out if you knock them out, so don't worry if you've knocked them out and you can't get back to them to finish them off, they will die as long as they're not revived. Looting is the most important factor of the game. You have to be extremely lucky to win a game without having high-end gear on, and the whole fight is to grab the best loot. Get in and get out, grab loot as quick as you possibly can, and only carry what you need. If you take random attachments and ammo for guns that you don't have, you could get dropped, and you could be feeding your enemy the ammo or something that he needs to wipe your whole team and get himself the chicken dinner. The drop crates, the ones that the plane flies over and drops onto the map, never ever rush to it. Instead, get yourself to a good vantage point and drop the impatient people that do rush to it. Yes, the crates hold the most powerful weapons and stuff in the game that are not lootable any other way, but if you rush it then you'll probably get dropped, whereas if you wait it out a bit you can drop someone and grab the contents of the crate and their loot as well. And last on the list of tips is the firing mode of your guns. There's single, burst and auto. Single is best for long range combat, burst is best for short to mid, and auto is best for short range unless you're experienced and you know how to handle recoil. Say you have two decent guns, both capable of being auto and single, put one on auto and keep the other single. Then instead of having to press B to switch up the firing mode, you just have to use your scroll wheel on your mouse to change your weapon. I like putting a scope on my single shotgun as it's used for long range combat. If you have one gun, then you have no choice but to use B for switching it up. And I like having a gun on auto when I'm near houses and single shot when I'm running to another location, like when I'm out in the open and stuff. Now we're on to the game settings, the graphics settings. There's not too much to this, as everything will most likely be down to personal preference, depending on your hardware and stuff as well. I'll put a list of all my PC specs and stuff in the description of this video. But I have my screen scale set to 100, I think that's default, but that's what I've got it set to, that doesn't affect me. Motion blur and VSync are turned off. Everything else is set to ultra, but foliage and shadows are on very low. For some reason, I seem to have better FPS like this over having most of the stuff set to medium, because I started off with the settings on medium, and when I put them on ultra and turned the shadows and foliage down to very low, my FPS seems to, like, the game runs smoother. And the reason you should set your shadows and foliage to very low is that is the setting which affects obviously the shadows and also the grass detail. You could be sat there with everything on ultra because you run dual Titan X graphics cards or whatever, and still have a bad time because there's patches of grass which will look tall and good to use to cover on ultra settings, but for someone else using very low settings, will see you as if you're sitting in the middle of nowhere like a complete weirdo. And all the videos which go into these tips and settings and stuff in a lot more depth will be in the description. And I'm making this video as I'm still looking for my first chicken dinner, but I wouldn't be doing anywhere near as good without using these tips myself, so hopefully they help you guys too. And a massive thank you to the people that made the videos in the first place. Now on to the last thing, which is the key bindings. These are quite important to the game because the default keys can sometimes be a little bit out of reach when you need to do something quickly and it can possibly get you killed. The first thing we're going to change is the throwables. It's default to 5, but I think G's much better, as when you're running and you want to switch to a grenade, you have to reach up with your index finger to 5, whereas on G, you'll only have to slide your index finger 2 keys to the right and then you can select your grenades. The next is the medkits. I can't remember what they default to, but I've put them on 0 as they are very rare to actually get in game. I've probably played about 15-20 games, I've only ever had one medkit. So keep the key out of the way for now. You might want to change that up as you become more experienced though. And again, it's all personal preference. First aid kits are fairly common, so I put them on H as H health. It's closer than 7 or whatever they default to. Bandages I have on Y, as it's still fairly close to your main keyboard hand, but not as important as a first aid kit can be. A boost item, so an energy drink or some painkillers, I've put on T, as it's a small index finger slide away and these are used quite often. As mentioned in the tips part of the video earlier, they allow your health to go past 75 when you're healing. And the last thing I've changed is how you switch seats in a vehicle. I believe they default to control 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. But I've switched them up to F1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. As using controls and numbers can be quite awkward, especially when you're in a sticky situation. Just make sure you don't alt to look around and then press F4, or your team will go mad and you'll kick yourself if you're doing it in solos. And the last thing before we end this video, I've got all of my sensitivity on 75 as 50 is far too slow for me. But as I've said a few times, personal preference, play how you want to play. I really hope you get chicken dinners because I'm going to be like over the moon when I get my first one. This game is really, really tough to get to like the last 4 or 5. I think the best we've ever done is top 6. And all of the settings, key bindings, tips and stuff in this video have helped me reach the top 6. Whereas before I was using them, I was struggling to even get top 50. Anyway, before I bore you all to death, check out the videos in the description as they're the videos that helped me make this video and help me become better at PUBG. I hope the video helped you. Grab yourself a chicken dinner, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Thank you for watching.